All right, everybody, welcome back to Lost and Found. I'm your host, Cain Stevens, and we are back at it in the old podcast seat again. Um, I'm just glad to feeling real thankful. It's getting really close to Thanksgiving, and I've got a lot of good plans going on. Gonna visit my brother in Kansas City and be around family. Hopefully, watch the Hawkeyes beat the Huskers. Don't beat me up on that deal, but hey, it's just who I like. So we got that going on too. God bless football as well. But yeah, I just there's a lot to be thankful for. I think that we forget what the real thanks needs to be towards. So don't forget to thank the Lord for all the wonderful food that you're going to receive, and just enjoy the time you can while you have it with your family. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So on this show this week, social media has become a burden and a blessing to me all in the same. Just to preface what I'm going to talk about today, I did a couple days of talking or just posting questions, 2 days of questions on social media, on Facebook, and I posted a couple questions. I'll get into that later, but man, I got some wild responses. So we'll kind of go over that. I got something special planned for you with the permission of my good friend, Pastor Steve Davenport out of Calvary Community Church. He's given me permission to use his part of one of his sermons to kind of answer some of the things that people are saying. So I'll have that later on. It's a really good, if you haven't had a chance, go to their YouTube or download their app. It's Calvary Community Church in Lincoln, Nebraska. They're doing a lot of great things. Pastor Steve is a really smart and amazing guy. Big old guy, man, weightlifter guy. That's which I'm used to. That's what I grew up around. My brother's a big old, Sylvester Stallone looking dude. I used to do my share of lifting back in the days, but it ain't in the cards for me anymore. So at least not like that. But anyways, we'll have that on. You can check their stuff out on YouTube. You can check it out under their app, and I would suggest that you do so. The parts in particular that I'm going over will be the did Jesus really die, and was he resurrected for us? Look for those. Those were there was a two-parter, and he provides a lot of historical content. But right now we're gonna do a segment that we're trying to do every show. We're gonna continue on this one as well. So with that being said, let's do a little
Christian news.
All right, so this one out of I tried a bunch of different sources. I'm finding some pretty cool stuff. This one was on CBN News, which I believe is ChristianBroadcastNews.com. This one was www.1.cbn.com. But anyways, the headline was, "I'm here as an ambassador of Jesus Christ. The U.S. Army Green Beret brings training, supplies, and the gospel to hurting people of Ukraine." So I felt like this is a really great, we need some positive news. There's a lot of negative stuff going on out there. And, this one in particular is a good thing with a really bad situation. So I'm sure I'm just going to say this wrong, but in Kherson, Ukraine, Sergeant First Class Christian Hickey is a former Marine who went on to join the Army as a Special Elites Green Beret. When war broke out in Ukraine, Hickey felt he had to do something, but fighting was a part of his calling. He said, "I wasn't called here to shed any blood. I was just called here to tell people about the blood that was shed for them a long time ago." That calling led to concern from his superiors, of course, with the U.S. National Guardsmen working in Ukraine. Nevertheless, I guess God opened the doors up for him to go, so he did. He said, "I'm not here representing the United States military. I'm not here representing my command. I'm not here representing the National Guard. I'm here as an ambassador of Jesus Christ, and that's exactly what I'm doing here as a missionary in Ukraine to help people. after he arrived, he found the Ukrainian troops were in desperate need of many things. One included was their lack of a medic, and it just so happens that I guess he's highly trained in tactical combat casualty care. So if you could say that 5 times, I dare you to. But I, I feel pretty good about it. I felt like I nailed it as best as I could. So I'm not going to do it again. He says I stepped into their training facilities and they saw me and they knew exactly that this guy was different. Speaking about himself, and they ran up to me and said, "Can you help us?" It's a wild situation going on over there with Russia and what no matter how you look at it, I don't know how you can side with Russia on it, but I will say, they obviously feel that they're right. At least their leaders do that are leading the charge. But I do find it they're just doing they're up against it and they're doing what they have to do. I don't know if there's some background stuff, obviously, that we, who knows, that we could come out later about the Ukraine and why they're doing what they're doing. I also, but I say don't give up. But this story in particular, I find to be awesome. Here's a highly trained military person, vet, somebody who's been in it, and been in multiple facets, been in a lot of things, and he felt it was his calling to go there, not as a soldier, but well, not as a military soldier, but a soldier of God, a soldier of Jesus. So, it looks like as he's been amongst these guys, helping them, trying to fulfill their needs as best they can. He's also been talking to them about Jesus, about the Lord. And I mean, if this isn't a feel good story and a great story, then I don't know what is. You know, God is everywhere in the news. You just have to look for it. It doesn't have to be all negativity. Not that it has to be all squirrels and squirrels on skateboards and little mini power boats and all that stuff. Or little kittens holding other little kittens. But you get what I mean. It says as war grinds on, Hickey's mission is evolving to meet the need of the people. Just days after the fall of Kherson, with the population running out of food, Hickey and his team brought a convoy of aid to the rescue. So that's awesome. So I mean, they're feeding the people literally and feeding also their soul. So God bless to all the guys who have decided to go into harm's way and try to help these people, even if it's not in a military sense. So we'll just pray for a conclusion to all of this. I'm not sure what it's going to be. Many have their theories, but pray that nothing crazy happens, like a nuclear war or something like that breaks out, because that would be catastrophic and terrible. So, all right, well, there's your Christian news. Now we're going to move on to the meat and bones of, as I usually say, of all of this. So what was it? It was 5 days ago. Was it 5 days ago? Yeah, 5 days ago. I decided to, because I for my own self, for my own research, for my own thoughts, just to help me. I said, for those of you that don't believe in the Bible or buy Christianity, without getting into a heated debate, can you tell me what keeps you from believing in the idea of one creator as well as the resurrection of Jesus Christ? And little did I know, I should have known. It was, I mean, if I guess if you look at it now that I'm looking at it, I can see that maybe it was kind of a loaded question, but I didn't mean for it to be that way. I meant the best of it. I just wanted to learn and know. I wanted to be able to respond to people with respect, with dignity, without judging them, no matter how far-fetched they. I was just shocked, 80 comments later, 100 comments on the other one. I was shocked at the stuff people were saying and how vile people, some had very concise beliefs and thoughts. And I can't, So like one person in particular believes in a higher power, but they don't believe in the 6,000-year-old Earth, like many Christian scriptures suggest. And that, I mean, that goes with a lot of study and a lot of I too have struggled with that idea because in school they beat us to death over carbon dating and the Earth being a billions of years old and millions of years. I'm not saying like I don't disbelieve. The jury's out from my mind only because I need to look into it further for myself. So I'm not going to say either way. But I tried to be as respectful as I could. Many decided to say that all religion and mostly Christianity is based on fairy tale, which is, this is something that as a former doubter and me and a former disbeliever in a lot of things, just really just running from God, but it's still having God there, always pressing and holding, kind of holding my hand, even though I didn't deserve it. It's by God's grace. I used to believe a lot of these things too, so I can understand where people are coming from in some respects. People are very hung up on the missing books and things that were left out. I mean, there's the apocrypha, which you can are some of them that are missing from our standard Bibles, and I believe they still use it in maybe like the Ethiopian Bibles, and they used to use some of those books in Jewish texts when they stepped, but then it was omitted from that later down the line for whatever reason. They found it wasn't what I read. They found that it wasn't canon to what they were trying to get across. So, the people saying that the book was written by men is ridiculous. But I mean, who's going to write it? I guess God could write it. God could write a book easy. God could write a book, throw it down, make a zillion copies, and mail them to every doorstep. But that's and say you must read this. But that's not. I don't know. I don't really see that. A lot of people who decided to comment were people who I feel have a darker intent. Not all of them, some of them. Not all of them. So please don't take me that way. But some of them, it feels like they're trolling. Like it's almost like they have some nefarious reason why they want to resist so much, and they basically want to poke fun at you. They start poke fun at me over my questions to try to get me to look stupid, which I do a good enough job of that myself. But but I don't need them. I try. I try to be a intelligent person. I try to read and do a lot of different things that may be considered dorky or whatever. But I love reading history, and I want to learn from our history. If we forget our history, if they keep erasing our history, then we're just making new history, and we can't learn from the old. So it's very important. But I try my best. But man, they really tore me down in a lot of respects. I had one guy who claimed that he was extremely into Roman history, and then once some different people kind of came to my aid, which that was totally not what I wanted to. I mean, I appreciate it, but I didn't want it to be I guess by default it was going to be. I didn't want it to be a Christian melee, against the evildoers and all this stuff. But I do appreciate what everybody did. Like, it was awesome. It helped, but I don't think it changed anybody's mind who was a doubter. It wasn't all negative. I got some really good responses from people thanking me for even bringing the subject to a social media platform like mine, which as a musician, I have thousands of friends. I don't know most of them, but but you acquire a bunch of people on all platforms, and I lost a few of them, and that's okay. It's all right. I had a lot of bye Felicia, so to speak, from them over all this. So over two questions. So and that's all right. I'm definitely willing to lose friendship, but I'll pray for you, and I hope for the best that you will find the truth. We're running from the truth as a society, as a world, and I wish that we would go running to the truth. So there were, the people saying dead people don't rise from the dead. If Jesus was actually God manifest as human, maybe then, but the miracle is no longer anything, they claim. I mean, yes, people don't rise from the dead, but one person did, and therefore that person sparked a religion and a movement that has lasted for thousands of years. And so what's at the very least what I try to tell people all the time, and it's something. I mean, I just what is it hurting if it helps me personally, or if it helps you, or if it helps anybody, one person, multiple people, if it makes you a better person to follow Christ, this is at the very least, okay. Just take it as a grain of salt, I guess, but just try to take something out of it. At the very least, if it's making you a better you, and you have more compassion for people, you're loving people, you're helping the homeless, the sick, you're doing as much as you can. And trust me, I don't do enough of anything, so I need to do more. All I'm saying is, if it makes you a better person, then at the very least, what does it hurt? Why does it offend you if I love Jesus and I say out loud, I love the Lord, I love Jesus? I don't know. I mean, granted, the question that I asked was why they don't. And so and very respectfully, I have to respect that because I asked the question and I got the answers. I got tons of answers. There's many people who said there's definitely a creator, that's good. They're at least on that. It's not just we're a bunch of microorganisms and there's a big bang and everything happened, and then we have all this. They're at least suggesting there was a creator, okay? But then they say, however, Jesus is a man-made character and story. So it's like, oh. So I mean, that's an opinion. They have a strong opinion as to why. And this is the thing that I took from all of this, is that if I want to ask a question like that, I need to be razor sharp. I need to be sharp as a knife. I need to be ready to go with answers. Because if I'm representing the Lord, if I'm representing Christianity in my own way, in a conversation, in anything, then I need to be ready to answer those questions. So to me, it's exciting because it leaves me with this massive, it's not a burden, it's this massive chore to do, a job that I need to do for God, is I need to be able to answer. Maybe I can help people, right? Maybe you can too, but we have to have answers. So it's important to go look at your history books and see, well, what non-Christian historians had an account, because that's the main thing a lot of people were hung up on, I guess, is what I took out of both comments I made. I mean, I can read the other. I'll read the other question I posted too, just so you have an idea. But so I followed up with, just so we keep going on this, I followed up with warning: this question is not meant to invite negativity, which of course it did. If we believe everything our history books say, even though we weren't there ourselves, why do we reject the idea that Jesus even existed when there's also documentation of his existence? And then 100 and some comments later, we have more debate, which I think is good, healthy debate. I mean, one person suggested, because I posted just a couple of quick images, and it just happened to be a Getty's image tied to like a quick here's a historian who was non, and then she was so gracious to suggest that I'm too stupid to go out and read it myself, so I have to rely on a Google search, which isn't true. I just wanted to post something quick, but I mean, I guess she was a library student or something, and that's cool. I get it. I mean, she's all for people need to know that there are databases out there at the library, and I absolutely agree with that. However, I do agree with the idea that we're living in a modern age where libraries are very important, but we also have libraries at our fingertips. I can also look on the internet and I can go to a database, an actual library database or bigger, and I can research anything. So that they can say consider the source and the internet, everyone's lying. But I mean, you could say that about everything. You could say that about every single text ever written. And here we are further down the line, and who can prove it? And I mean, it's just like this, for example. Okay, people don't want to believe in Jesus, but the question I ask is, okay, if we're gonna talk historically, we weren't physically at the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, okay? But there's many accounts that John Wilkes Booth killed Abraham Lincoln and this and that happened. But to me, I mean, I believe it because that's what I've been taught. But to me, I mean, if I'm supposed to suggest the same type of philosophy that they are, then with that being said, then I could make a case that, well, I'm not sure. I mean, it could have been merely speculative that John Wilkes Booth killed Abraham Lincoln. Well, they have photos of Abraham Lincoln. I asked, did he even exist? Which I know is ludicrous, ridiculous. There's pictures. I get it. But I'm just saying, I didn't take the picture. I wasn't there. So how do I know that, I don't know if it was a picture of some guy. Maybe Abraham Lincoln wasn't tall with a stovepipe hat and, the way Abraham Lincoln looks. Maybe he was, a short little Napoleon looking guy, and they wanted to make him look taller, and he wasn't a very good speaker. So they had this guy do it instead because he's more stoic. And you get what I'm saying? Like, if we want to go by that, then we could literally say anything. And I think that's what they're doing. They're making a case for their belief, or in this case, disbelief, by they're just spouting off saying whatever they are. Some of them are just trolling internet. You're gonna get trolls, Trollio coming through, trouncing through the woods. He comes out of the woodwork and he's, I see this. Oh, Teddy the cockapoo is talking to me chattering to me from upstairs. So he must be hungry. But anyways, the troll sees something like that and immediately pounces on it. And that's kind of what we got. So, I'll close with this. And I hope you're taking something out of this. In review, I'm just merely saying that through these questions, I had a reason for them. I wanted to hear people's side of why they feel the way they feel. But the answer to their question on were there non-Christian people, or just people who had an agenda? Were there non-Christian people who wrote about Jesus Christ and the crucifixion and the resurrection, and Christians in general? Because people are denying all of that. And the answer is yes. So with that being said, I've prefaced it before. I'll do it again. I've been given the authority to use part of a sermon that I felt was very smart. Just really quickly, it's Pastor Steve. I won't do the whole story. I just want it to prove my point here. And so without further ado, Pastor Steve Davenport from Calvary Community Church in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Now, the following is what is known as the gospel. And there are 4 parts to it. You have to have all 4 to make sense of the life and ministry of Jesus. Here's the first part: that Christ died for our sins in accordance with the scriptures. You see, his death is important because you cannot have a resurrection unless you first have a death. Now, all of the gospel writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, claim that Jesus died a horrible death on the cross. But let's be honest, they're biased. They were his followers. So we have to look for other sources, neutral sources or even hostile sources, to confirm that Jesus actually died the way the gospel writers describe. And there are several. There's far too numerous to mention this morning, but let me give you just a couple. Tacitus, considered to be the greatest historian of Rome, wrote, Christus, the founder of the name, was put to death by Pontius Pilate. So here we have a secular historian confirming that Jesus died at the hands of Pontius Pilate, just like the Gospels say. But here's another. Lucian wrote in The Death of Peregrine, the Christians, worship a man to this day, the distinguished personage who introduced their novel rites and was crucified on that account. He would go on to say, and worship the crucified sage and live after his laws.
Man, wasn't that awesome? So I don't know. I felt like, well, one, not only is he a friend of mine now, but he's just a wonderful, pastor, man. Like, I just get a lot out of what he has to say. There's a lot of great pastors out there, and I hope to find more sermons that I can add from all different facets. But I thought he did a really good job on that. So, in closing, we're getting close to closing her down here. I do want to say that I meant no harm by any of that, and I'm not going to take it back. I don't want to banter with the people that just wanted to argue and be disrespectful and just are new people who are just trying to be a nuisance and not trying to add to the value of the conversation. So, if anything, we had a nice discussion about Christ and Christianity on a social media platform. Nobody was killed. Some feelings were, I guess, I'm not intentionally, but I guess just the mere fact that I asked those questions, some feelers were hurt. So sorry about that. But I mean, I will say this. I don't feel bad for the people who decided to drop off my friends list, and I don't apologize for being a Christian and following Christ. So if that's your game, if you're trying to get me off of my game, I'm not going to do it. So, just thank you for being my friends if you are. I know that, and trust me, I'm not naive to think that Facebook friendship is real friendship. I would say of the, over 2,000 and some people that I'm friends with on Facebook and growing, I would say probably maybe 300 or 400 are actually people I know well or friends or close, relatives or whatever. It's probably a little more than that, but you get what I mean. So take it how you'd like. So lastly, I'm just gonna, I don't know if you ever, I'm a big fan of memes. I know they can be mean spirited and stuff. I don't like the mean-spirited ones anymore because they get pretty bad. But the one with the little girl, she's got a pink jacket on, she's got her pigtails in, she's a little blonde girl, and she's holding out her arms like, hey, like what am I doing here? I've always loved that meme and the stuff people posted, and so I just posted that picture, and I said, I guess 2 straight days of asking questions regarding Christianity and Jesus on social media wasn't the best idea I've ever had. And I think that makes the most sense to me. So I've tried to back off. I've tried to post more. I'll just be more mindful. I'm not going to stop, but I'm not going to hit them with the hard stuff all the time, I guess. I'll save that for Marcus Rogers and all those people out there that are, I don't know, whether you agree with what they're saying or not. It's still interesting. So, well, that's another one in the books, everybody. I gotta continue getting packed and get myself ready for this trip. It's gonna be. I'm gonna try to have this out so that it can be listened to over the holiday, a long holiday here. So I hope you do, and tell your friends, and support me as best you can. Right now, I'm just streaming on Amazon, Spotify, and YouTube for this particular podcast. I'm trying to do it weekly. If I don't get it done weekly, it may just be bi-weekly for now, till I get more content, more things coming up. But hey, we're doing it. So, with my mission statement, if I can help just one person, then I've already accomplished my goal with this. So if you are not, if you are a doubter, you don't really believe in any of this stuff, I still welcome you to stick around and listen. So I hope you guys listen again, and we'll see you on the other side. Goodbye.